So we are going to be talking about the NIH and the NIDCD 101. It's not what you need to do. It's more a perception for you to have an idea where we are and how we're going to be doing things and what things may apply for you. So before we start, I want to know how many pre-doctoral students we have here. Great. Postdocs. Great. Faculty members. Fantastic. Faculty members with tenure. Awesome. Faculty members with tenure track. Fantastic. This is very reassuring for me because, you know, the tenure part is a species in extinction. So as being a dean back in Puerto Rico, having it, you know, it's a lot of effort. So congratulations. So let's start. So we are going to be talking about, and I tend to talk fast as I'm not wearing a jacket because I get excited, I sweat, and I just yeah. So we're going to be talking about the NIH and NIDCD. We're going to be talking about research training and career development, about institutional programs a little bit, and then we have individual programs that might apply for you, the roles and responsibilities. A message here is that you are in charge. We're just providing you opportunities. Then the life cycle of an application, and then a little bit of pearls of wisdom. I changed the name because Grantsmanship tends to be boring, and then a Q&A. So the NIH, as you probably know from your experience, is the biomedical research agency of our government. It was established in 1930. We have 27 institutes and centers, and we are distributed sometimes by disease, condition, or organs, or some of them are more holistic, like integrative health. NCAN was like that, and then now the ones are more specific for like the translational center that we just started. Our budget is around $30 million, which is a lot of money, but still we all think that it's not enough. And it has been kind of stable for so long, so it might having impacts on the research and the opportunity for us to fund. But our mission is to seek knowledge about nature, behavior, and living system with the purpose of enhance health, lengthen life, and reduce the burden of illness. And that's very broad. That's why we do all this research and we have all these centers. NIDCD, or the National Center for Deafness and Communicative Disorders, was established in 1988. My God, I was graduating from undergrad by that time. We have a $404 million, 400. It's not a lot of money compared to the big ICs, but I think we do a really good job funding research. And our mission is to conduct and support research and behavioral research and research training in normal and disordered processes in 7 different areas: hearing, balance, taste, smell, voice, speech, and language. We are divided in different areas, but as you see, we cover a very broad area of senses. How we do this? NIH and most of the institutes are divided by 2 areas. We have the intramural program, which is research that is done inside the NIH, and this one is more focused on hearing and balance. In the extramural program, they have postdocs and positions there, but it's more focused on some specific topics. Then we have the extramural research area, which is where we are. And the Division of Scientific Programs is where our portfolios are. This is where most of the money go out for institutions for doing the grants and doing the fellowships and the career at your home institutions. We are organized, hearing and balance, in these different areas: language, voice and speech, taste and smell, or chemosensory. We have a section of clinical trials. We have epidemiology and statistics and research training. Yay! So it's for us. It's how we organize, how we manage the different portfolios. Then we have a division of extramural activities. This is where the Office of Scientific Review is for NIDCD. This is where the fellowships and most of the career awards are being reviewed, which is most ICs do this, but it's very helpful to have an office of review within your institute because it's very focused in the review process. Most of the other ones and the research go to the Center for Scientific Review for the study sections. And we have the Office of Grants Management, which is the people that do more of the fiscal management of administrative things, the ones that ask you for IRB, IACUCs, and all the certifications before we can award and give you the money and go on. And you celebrate. That's the part. You get the money, you celebrate. Then Grants Management start asking you progress reports. And everybody goes like, oh. And the progress report is what tell us, the program officers, how great you are doing. Please, I'm begging you, don't leave it for the last minute. We can tell when somebody took the time to, show what they had done to the ones that, I got the email last week and I had to submit it tomorrow. And you can tell. So it's kind of, pearls of wisdom. So how we are organized. So as I said, we are organized on hearing and balance, and we have the different program officers that are designated for the different areas that we cover. For noise-induced hearing loss, for example, is Janet. There is her email. So if your project, that's what I did that table that way. If you want to contact them and discuss your research and see how your research fits their research portfolio, that'd be the best way to contact them. Then we have Amy working with cochlear implants, Nancy Freeman on cellular development and transduction, Chris Platt on central auditory and vestibular pathways, Roger, which is our biomedical engineering kind of technology things, and then genetics and inflammation for bracing. Dr. Cooper, that's here, is on language. Lana, which is also here, and you have a time to talk to her, both of them, in voice and speech. Taste and smell, which is Susan Sullivan. We just have a meeting in Florida this weekend, and it was fantastic. Stephen on clinical trials, epidemiology and stats with Howard. Then we have research training, all the programs of research training. That will be me. The Academic Research Enhancement Award. This is a program that Chris manages, and it's for institutions that they don't get a lot of research, NIH research money, that will help them get some money for PIs to involve undergraduate students and things like that. It's a really good program. The RO3, we're going to be talking a little bit after about this one, but it's kind of a development also, getting your preliminary data program. It's a small grant program that's crazy. The R21, which is the high-risk, high-reward program, that's Nancy, and the small business and technology transfer awards and programs are managed by Roger. So you see, everybody's distributor has a specific kind of portfolio or manage a specific program. If you had no idea where you're going and who to talk to, or you want to see how our portfolio looks like, the NIH Reporter. It's a query form. You can put your keywords and NIDCD, and you will see what has been funded in the past, what is being funded right now, whom. So it gives you an idea of collaborators. It gives you an idea, of reviewers. Give you an idea who's doing similar kind of work. So you can craft your research without overlapping other people or repeating something that is already being funded. I always encourage applicants to do this before contacting our POs. We are not a lot of people, and we get a lot of emails. So you have to catch our attention, but also do your homework. So NIH Reporter is really, really, really good. So let's talk about training. So what is our mission in terms of research training? We want, as our main goal, is to increase the number, the quality, and the diversity of well-prepared and skilled investigators in the areas that our institute serves, in hearing, balance, language, etc. That's very important. We support team science. We like to support you creating your network of collaborators as you are developing your training by doing interdisciplinary research, working with both clinicians and basic scientists. Because our science in the institute is, and our idea is, we want to foster very good investigators that are innovative, that are creative, that are productive in basic science, clinical science, and translational science. how we do this. I mentioned the institutional award. Many of you have been supported by T32s, right? How many T32? Those are our institutional awards. Those are the awards that are given to an institution. An institution selects the people that they're going to be training. And we have at the NIH level, we have for undergraduates, predoctoral, and postdoctoral. Those are the T awards. Then we have the individual ones. We have the fellowship or DFs, the Mentor Career Development Awards, or the Ks, and the training-related administrative supplements. We have two, the diversity supplement that is so-called the diversity supplement, and the reentry supplement. We are going to talk about this program as we continue. Any questions so far? Good. So this diagram here shows what we have in terms of your academic stage. Obviously, you are more into the pre-doc, postdoc, and faculty. So we obviously have the institutional programs. We have the fellowships. Then we have the career awards. And very important, not least important, it's very important, the loan repayment program. It's a great program that will cover your educational debt while you're still involved in research, and it's awesome. We also have the supplements for training. Most importantly, once we give you money, obviously you're going to be wondering, well, what NIDCD will be looking for. So what we want you to develop as you have our money and our programs, we want you to get the best education possible, right? We want you to have scientific knowledge, because the ultimate goal is for you to become an independent investigator. So we want you to have the best research skills, be creative. If you're a clinician, best clinical skills, translation and research skills, technical writing. If you go into this field, as you probably heard in the project, your life is going to be about writing and asking for money and being a storyteller. And convincing people that you are the one that deserves the money to move forward. Grantsmanship is crucial for this. Publications, you have to publish. We expect you that if you get a fellowship from us, that you publish. Collaborations, networking, that's perfect. You need to continue that. And the business of science. We are sometimes so into the profession that we forget that we have to know the marketing tools. You need to know how to write a business plan, because once you graduate and you complete and you want to become an independent investigator, you have to think a little bit about the business, how you're going to be selling yourself, what will be your goal, how you're going to get to the other side and be successful and have sustainability for the rest of your career. That's marketing for me. That's for me is business plan. So be thinking about those. Who would you need to call to learn about that? Mentorship. We all have a responsibility to develop the next generation. From the people in your lab, from the people in the lab next door, from your own family, even though sometimes they might not understand the science, but at least you're contributing and doing public service, obviously. So let's talk a little bit about the individual awards. We talked in general about the training programs, but I think you'll benefit more for listening about the individual awards. The individual awards is for applicants that wants to continue working with faculty as in mentoring relationships with people that are working in areas of interest and priority for NIDCD. And that's why we have the K awards, the fellowships, and the supplements. We have an expectation. Your research project has to show and has to fit our strategic plan. So something that you need to read is what? The strategic plan. It's on our website. Sometimes I get inquiries of really interesting projects and have nothing to do with us. It's more like child health and development. Or it's so basic neuroscience that it should go somewhere else. So read, please, our mission, our research priorities, and our strategic plan. And when you contact, usually you have to contact me for making sure that we are in the same page about coming to NIDCD is, well, my research plan will contribute to this objective of the strategic plan. It fits the mission, and this is how it is going to contribute. In order for you to understand how it contributes, you need to read what has been funded in the past by us, which takes you where? To the reporter. Uh, the fellowships, because we have a couple of people, we support fellowship, dissertation fellowships for pre-doctoral students. The FOAs is the Funding Opportunity Announcement. You Google that number, you get the latest one, and it has the submission, the applications dates. We have one that is specific for to promote diversity for people from diverse background, that is specified by that, and that requires the institution to include a statement of eligibility. And then we have the postdoctoral F32s that was mentioned before. Something that is unique for NIDCD, and I think is one of the things that really attract me to come to NIDCD, is we really want you to be successful. And we have, and the Office of Review, do an amazing job expediting you getting the summary statements. It's amazing. Not only that, the quality of what the reviewers, of the information that the reviewers include in those summary statements is the best one that I have seen in 3 institutes. You know, I've been in places that is just one sentence, like innovation, lacking. You get one of our summary statements, you know what you're missing. So make use, after, you know, it's not, if you don't get funded or not discussed, you're going to get, you know, you have a 2-day frustration limit. You go and celebrate or cry, but then you come back to the table, read it, share it with your mentors, and then you say, okay, let me look at this with more detail. And sometimes I get emails like, you know, the summary statement is released like Monday, and then, you know, Monday around 10 p.m., the person sent me an email. So this person didn't digest all the information that is there. So it's a process, and we can talk more about that later. Then we have the administrative supplements that we talked before. There's one for promoting diversity within the biomedical workforce. It covers from high school all the way to faculty. We are more interested at the pre-doctoral and the postdoctoral levels because this supplement is for people that never had an intense immersion in biomedical research. Then we have the ones for promoting reentry. This one is mostly for faculty, and this is for people, for example, that is a faculty member and then got appointed to be the acting dean. And you know, if you work in an institution, being an acting dean can be a 1 to 5 year appointment. And what happened to your research? It might suffer, so you might need to come back into the research arena. This is a way to do it. Also, family happens, life happens, so sometimes you have to take time off and then come back. It's a great opportunity. So in all these fellowships and the training, what is evaluated? What they're looking for? Somebody mentioned that the fellowships have different structures, different components. Well, we look, and the reviewers will look at your academic background. Are you getting the best education? Your previous research training. Do you need more research training? You have to justify that. Just because, don't think that you need to tell reviewers what are your weaknesses, where you want to go, what you want to do, and justify your need for research training. Then your research plan, your research project. It has to be something, as we talk, aligned with us, and a proposed research training and a mentoring plan. There's a career development plan. Reviewers love to see timelines. Where you're going to be when, where you're going to want, by timelines and milestones. And that's very important as you structure this. Your mentors. Just because the person is famous doesn't mean that it's your best mentor for your project, because it might happen that the person never published in your topic. He's famous, it's good to know, but it doesn't fit your project. So it's things that you have to, nuances that you have to make sure. And then your institution. Is there commitment for you to be developed? Are there resources there? Is there space? Are you going to get lab? And those are the things that the reviewers will be looking for. Let's talk about the K Awards. The K Awards is after you have you complete your degrees, you have a little bit of you have your postdoc, then you get the opportunity to move forward for the next step. What you need to have in order to qualify for a K Awards is a full-time position at the applicant institution. Mentors are required. It's a mentor career development award. Again, you need to justify the need for development. Sometimes people think that just changing the experimental model is a need in career development, but you're going to be continuing using the same techniques, or the reviewer is going to say, well, this person is already publishing in this thing, so why they need training? So you have to justify that. This is my suggestions for mentors. Sometimes you need multiple mentors. Team of mentors are welcome, as long as your application does what? Specify what this person is going to provide you. That's very important. Sometimes you need a research field mentor. Sometimes you need a technical mentor, somebody that is an expert or created the technique or the intervention that is good to have in your team. And a career mentor, somebody that's, a visionary that can see you as an independent investigator and can guide you. That's very important. We have several programs. These are just a few. We have a ton. But these are the ones that we pick that we think you might benefit. The first one is the KO8. This is for people that have clinical degrees and they want to develop and become independent clinical investigators in basic clinical research. That means that it doesn't involve patients and lead to research and to research independence. That's the KO8. Then we have the K23, which is also for clinical investigators in clinical research, but this one is clinical research that will involve patients. We just have a new program. It's a K22. It's a NIDCD Research Transition Award for nurturing clinical investigators. This one is for newly appointed clinicians in institutions with a potential to get tenure track that needs, and they don't have any research experience. It's just a person coming from the clinic interested in becoming a clinical investigator. It's a person that needs to generate basic preliminary data and also gets training. But it's a faculty, it's appointed faculty. Then we have the famous K99 and 00 award, the Pathway for Independence. This is for the more advanced and senior postdocs that are ready, that's very important, ready to transition to independence. It's an extremely competitive program. It gives you 2 years of K99 mentor career development phase and R00 that it gets you into kind of the R01 level award for your independent research project. In order to activate that R00, you have to have an appointment at an institution as a tenure track faculty member. And it's very popular because it's a lot of money. What I tell people, if you are going for the K99, the day that you put your application for consideration at the NIH, that day you start sending applications for jobs. Because you only have 2 years to complete your mentoring experience and also 2 years to get a tenure track position at the university. And guess what? That takes time. The deans need to create positions sometimes. They have to invite you. You have to present the seminar. You have to go to interviews. And suddenly you have 10 interviews, and then what you need is a letter offer for us to be able to move you into R00 award. So it's something that it takes a lot of planning. Then they have the R03, a small grant that I mentioned before, small grant program. This program is awesome because it's for late-stage postdocs within 7 years of your degree. It allows you to generate, it doesn't have to be a mentor program, but what it does is allows you to get preliminary data for your K or for your R21, but ideally, is for you to develop a subsequent R01. So if you submit an R03, be mindful that you need to have that prospective, image that we want you to generate the data for a future R01. Any questions so far? Great. As I mentioned, we have other programs. We have a KO1 for people that want to transition into translational research. We have a K-25 for people that are more in technology, computer engineering, and wants to become biomedical researchers. And we have other programs for more senior faculty members, more senior I should not say senior, it sounds old. Established investigators. It's not about, I know. It's like somebody told me that in the meeting. They say it's not established investigators that want to do two things: nurture the next generation of investigators, or wants to do sabbaticals. Then we had the loan repayment program. And I'm so excited about this one because when I went to med school, it wasn't there, so I lost the opportunity to be with it. So now I'm kind of big advocate because I pay my loans. But this one is for us. It's a way to encourage people to stay within the research arena. We are focused on clinical research and pediatric clinical research. We have a pretty high success rate with this program. It gives you up to 2 years, and it pays your educational debt up to $35,000 a year. This is in addition of your salary and your fringe benefits and everything. And it's a kind of a contract. There's the website, and the applications are in the fall. Right now, we're in the process of reviewing them. And I cannot talk more highly about this. The outcomes, that gives you peace of mind. Don't you agree? And that, for me, is really helpful when you have to think more about your research than paying your student loan. Okay, so what is evaluated in the case and in the loan repayment program? Again, your academic background, your previous research experience. Do you need to be developed? Sometimes people, want to present the best image possible, and they have no witnesses. There's nothing that I need to be developed, but I'm applying for a K award. And then when I ask them, well, I need to do this, I need to do statistics, I need to do the modeling. I say, well, you're not perfect then. So you need to address that and demonstrate that you need it. Your research project, as I mentioned before, your research training and mentoring plan has to be more focused. Remember, this is a different stage. This is you're not a pre-doctoral student. You are close to a faculty member, a more senior postdoc. Mentors and collaborators, consultants. Again, these are people that are going to have time for you, for your development. Not only is going to provide something for your research project, but also have the time for your development. And they have to say it. They have to say it in their letters. And the institution. Again, commitment. It doesn't have to be matching funds. It can be space. It can be support like staff, biostatisticians, and stuff like that. So before you apply, you need to do a self-assessment. So you need to look at your mirror like Superman, and then you need to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and be humble about it. And know, because what you need to do in your development plan is to provide the corrective actions for your weaknesses. How are you going to fix it? How are you going to get that knowledge and that skill set? Know where you want to be in 5 years. Know if you need additional mentor training. That's important. I think that's the crucial part about the fellowships and the career and the training awards. You need to know what you need and who's going to provide it to you. Talk to your mentors. We talk about the research field mentor, the technical mentor, and the career mentor. That's a good approach of having a team mentor. It's also aligned with the team science approach. Create your own individual development plan. And this is a catchy thing for the training community. Like everybody's talking about individual development plans. Very few people that I know have done it, even though everybody's talking about it. If you do it, it gives you a pathway for your next academic or career stage. ScienceCareers.org here now is web-based. I remember mine was on paper, but this one is web-based, and it's really useful. It gives you even an assessment of the careers that you might get in the biomedical enterprise. So it gives you a lot of opportunities. Then you need to sit down and evaluate your resources. Okay, I know where I am. I know where I want to go. I know who can give me the support. Let me see if I can find it. So you need to look at your institution or institutions. Sometimes you need to change institutions to get where you want to go. Your mentors. Here I have Yoda. You want to have the force with you. So for that, you need to know who's the expert in the fields that you're going to be working. Also, your track record. we all know R2D2 and CTPO. They're saving the galaxy. So you need, if these people are good enough, have they trained other people, talk to the other postdocs. And check. You can ask your mentors. So what happened to your mentor? And then you contact that postdoc. And if the postdoc doesn't want to talk about the mentor, hint, hint. And then you need to talk. You need to check on your collaborators and your consultants. And then you have, which I call the minions. These are the other people that are going to be helping you build your rocket. So you have to bring all these people into, and guess what? Your application that has page limits has to show all this. So what I tell people, when you think about submitting a fellowship, a career award, give yourself 1 year. Because you have to talk to so many people and getting good letters and convincing people that you are the best protege takes time. It's not your research project. You know your research. That's it. If you are preparing these kind of applications, you have a research project that you are all experts. It's perfect. You can recite. You close your eyes and you'll go with it. And then you have a career development plan that sometimes takes time and takes pulling teeth from people because they're busy. And then you need some time to resubmit your application, and you have to generate another letter because it cannot be the same. And how fast this person is going to respond to you. So take your time to do it because you want to present to our reviewers your best application possible. Because we have a bunch of reviewers, and sometimes they might not be the same reviewers that are assigned to your application, but they are in the room. And one of my great experiences at NIDCD in the review was sitting there and having this conversation because I'm telling you, they get engaged. It's like they go with it. And then they were saying, well, the person really did a great answer in resubmission because she answered all the questions and all the weaknesses on the summary statement. And another person that was not assigned, she was like, wait, I saw the first one. Oh, yeah. And guess what? That helps the applicants. So, roles and responsibilities at your institution. As I said, you lead the process. You have to talk to your mentors, but you lead the process. Don't sit down waiting for somebody to help you out. No, you move. You do it. It's your career. It's your life. Then you need the help and the support of your institutional business official because they have all the numbers and all the administrivia that we require in our system. From the IRBs, from the IACUBs, the employer identification numbers, it's the person that helps you create your ERA Commons account that you have to have active and updated. We are moving into what? Science CV. So start looking for that because you need to put your CV in Science CV because it's moving into be the future BioSketch. At NIDCD, myself as training officer, then we have the scientific review officer. That is the one that coordinates the scientific review meeting. Then you have your group, which is the experts. Then you have a second level of review, a council. And then the institute director, which is the one that agrees with all the reviews and gives you money, and we run with it. So this is more or less where we are. In program, it's myself, Lana, Judy, we're all program officers. We are the ones that do the scientific administration of the portfolios. We deal with the questions previous to submission, the post-review, and post-award, and we follow up with you, and you also follow up with us because we want to hear the good news. And the bad news too. Sometimes if you have a K award and it happens that mentoring relationship sounds good on paper, or something happens, so it keeps you updated. Keep us updated. Then you have the scientific review officer that prepares and the review of application and convene the meetings, and they are the ones that deal with all the questions after you submit your application, previous to the review. After the review, it goes back to us as program officers. Then grants management that does the grants policy and the fiscal management of the awards. So this is more or less a cartoon about the pre-submission process. Once you have the idea, you discuss it with your mentors, and you come back to us and you check with me, does this fit in IDCD? And if you have a question about research, You need also to come back to, and maybe sometimes talk to our program officer in the research areas. And then you move forward, you submit it, and then post-submission, this interaction continues to happen. You have the review meeting and the council meeting, and then is when you get the money and start preparing the reports. So something that you need to understand is when you contact people. So pre-submission, myself, a training officer, maybe the research portfolio person or the PO. Then once you submit it, you start interacting with the scientific review officer. This person, you can know who is, where's their meeting is going to be through your ERA Commons. After the review, usually you get the review between 6 to 8 weeks, your summary statement. After the review, you come back to us as training officer or program officers, and we help you navigate the process for council. But there are no decisions until council meets and the institute director signs the paperwork, and then we can let you know if you get funded. Then you get a notice of award. You celebrate for one day, and then you start working the next day, because you have a progress report that we are going to be looking for you if you don't submit it. So let's talk a little bit about the word grantsmanship tips, the pearls of wisdom. This is based on experience. You need to tell a story, and you need to like telling stories and convincing people. Be evidence-based and hypothesis-driven. That's very important, because this is research, so you need to demonstrate. You don't want to put in an application a trip to Antarctica to see they have the penguins. You want to be evidence-based and hypothesis-driven. You need to write clearly and check your grammar. We have seen reviews that people actually tell them in the summary statement, as part of your career development, your mentor should make sure that you have courses in grantsmanship. So check on that. My experience, because English is my second language, I used to take it to the English department, to my friend. I was like, can you check this out? And then I get my application all in red. Because he says, you have a great project here. She had no idea, because her expertise was not mine. But she has the how to construct the sentences, and in Spanish, you invert subjects and nouns. So, and verbs and stuff like that. So, it'd be everything all the way around. And it worked. I got funded, but it's a process. So try to check on that. Use active voice, be concise, precise, and to the point. Another thing that you might want to do as you are thinking about your project, check if you can tell explain your project to a person that is one of your friends that is a lawyer or something like that. If after that the person had an idea what you're planning on doing and can tell you, like, this is what you're trying to do, you are giving them the concise and the idea of what you want to do. I did it with my mother, but it didn't work initially because she said, yes, dear, it's fine. Then I will tell my friends, and they will go like, yeah, no, I had no idea what you're trying to do. So use active voice, sell yourself and your research ideas. You have to demonstrate that you know what you're talking about, that you know your background, that you know the literature. Double check. If you are proposing in your application secondary hypothesis, make sure that there's research behind it, and use citations. In applications, not only you propose what you're going to do, you also have to include what? Alternate ways to prove your point, or in case something didn't work, you need to have an alternate way to prepare or get your data. You have to be sure that you explain to the reviewers why you need that data and what you're planning on doing with it. Another thing that some people forget is when you have multiple aims, make sure that they are not connected to each other, so interdependent that if the first one fails, the project is dead. So you have to provide alternates of getting your data. Read and proofread, that's very important. Work with your mentors. It's very sad when you get fellowships and K awards, when you can tell that the mentors had Nothing to do with this project. And sometimes the reviewers catch it too. Beware of the cut and paste. That was kind of tragic. No, it wasn't here. It wasn't in NIDCD, but somebody did a cut and paste in an application that it showed up the person of the other applicant. So, that wasn't good. Talk to your mentors, make sure they read the applications, make sure that your letters from the mentor and your statements are clear and in terms of what they will provide. Keep your office or sponsor program informed. Don't show up 3 days before your submission. Oh, hey, we had to submit this. Sometimes institutions have processes in place that they have to pre-approve your application before it can be submitted. Work with them early and don't submit at the last minute. Again, in terms of the research project, be hypothesis-driven. Your specific aim should be measurable and doable. It should include preliminary data. Your time frame, be realistic. Try not to be over-ambitious. Something that is appropriate for you, for your academic level. Sometimes you get pre-doctoral fellowships that the reviewers will go like, that is way beyond the knowledge of the student, and they might need to scale back. Clear on the skills that you will develop. Again, talking about corrective plans. Make sure that you do scientific presentations and publications and you include a timeline. That's very important. In terms of your career development and your mentoring plan, highlight your strength. You have your bio sketch, a statement that you're going to tell. I've been doing for the past 10 years all this development, getting the basic fundamental research skills that I needed. Now I'm going to do this. So that's your strength. Then you need to address your weaknesses. That, I need, in order to move into doing this, I need to get more biostatistics training. I need to learn more modeling. I need to learn more technology, more imaging. Define the skills that you will develop. That's very important because that will go into your corrective actions, the specific activities that you're going to do to get this. Your sponsor and mentors. Again, it's not the famous person. It's what is this person is going to do for you. And that should be clear on the statements. With a very strong statement, their commitment of time, how they're going to help you move on and move up. And contributions to your development by providing support, providing resources, providing time. And the institutional statement. Sometimes they have like boilerplate statements for everybody that is submitting a fellowship. Being innovative and creative is good too. So additional resources, other programs and offices that might be available is good to include there too. So that's in a nutshell what I want to tell you. If you want to find anything, if a website, this page, nidcd.nih.gov, provides a lot of information there, from training opportunities in terms of Q&As about where to find out what you can be accessible to you, and also, very important, read the descriptions of our different areas. So it gives you an idea of what is NIDCD's research priorities. And with that, I think we are done. That's my email. I try to answer emails within 2 days that I receive it, unless I'm on travel. But I usually attach it to my iPad, so I send you, yes, I got it. Let's talk it next week. Let's go through a round of questions. Yes, sir.
Could you speak a little bit about the mentors for the K? Any restrictions as far as location? Do you need to be co-located with your mentor?
In an ideal world, the mentor will be in your same institution, but we are not restricting distances. Now we have different ways that people can communicate. In a K, you're more senior, so obviously you know how to keep contacts and working with them. It's more about you, but we are not restricting that the mentor has to be in your institution as long as you provide a good plan for communication with timelines and roles and how you're going to do it. You can have, I have seen people that do either they ask the mentor to come and visit you at your home institution. Sometimes they do the reverse. I have seen many ways to keep those interactions happening. Obviously, you are in LA and your mentor is in Puerto Rico, well, you have to think about that. Also, I had have gotten questions about international, like, you are here and your mentor is going to be in Paris, the reviewers might have a tough time accepting that there's nobody in the continental U.S. that's going to have the expertise that you need from that same person in Paris.
For K08 and some of the K20s, how heavily does the Institute look at the institutional commitment? So some of the K awards, I think, require some kind of very strong support letter from the chair or something saying that there's a position for the person, whether the K is funded or not. Is that still something that's weighted heavily by program? I know that was part of it before.
So let's talk about institutional commitment. The program doesn't require you to have a faculty position. What the program requires you is to have a full-time position at the time of award. It's at the discretion of the institution what kind of position they want to give you. What it does in terms of institutional commitment is an express commitment for your development as a clinician, a clinical investigator at the institution by providing you, the space or creating some career performance track for becoming a tenure track investigator, those kind of things. But that's an institutional decision. What we want to see is their commitment to you. Letters from the chair of the department is, very strong, or the deans. That's, something that the reviewers always sees as a strong commitment. But they have to really put there what you're going to be getting. That's for example, the one thing from the K99. Remember that I talked that in order to activate the R00, the person needs to get and land a letter, an offer letter saying you're going to get a tenure track position. That letter usually comes from the chair, and that is something that we need in order to activate it. But letters of commitment are very, very, very scrutinized.
Okay. Can you talk about the criteria for the review of the loan repayment applications program?
Oh, thank you, of course. I love the program, that's why. And so so you should be involved in research, right? You're going to have a mentor, and you have 3 recommenders. And these people are going to talk. It's less about the research project, and it's more about you as a potential investigator. So it's a kind of a shift for the reviewers, because the letter has to be really strong in terms of telling us, how you have overcome your weaknesses, how you have achieved so much in your research career that you deserve to have the loan repayment. So it's more about your as an individual, because we get your research project. I go and say, oh yeah, he's involved in this and this and this, and also the letter from your primary mentor, should talk about your progress in the research. But it's more about your commitment to research, how has been your pathway to stay within research. They don't want to see somebody, they got the, they loan, pay, and then you suddenly end up being a clinical, doing clinical only and forget about the research. So they want to see how committed you are to research.
For the K99 awards,
I don't see. Okay.
That comes directly off of an F32. Is it expected that 2 years of initial training funding would take place at your F32 institution?
If you are, you're submitting the K99 from an institution that you are. That's your applicant institution. That will depend on what is the benefit for you to leave the F32 and move into another institution, and it all depends. It's a case-by-case scenario there, but it might be possible. The thing is that you get from the F32, you can, and the K99, you cannot have more than 4 years of being a postdoc. So you have to be mindful of that. And sometimes you have to justify why you're staying in the same institution that to make clear what is the benefit for you.
For some of the K awards, you mentioned a requirement is having a clinical or health doctorate. So I wanted to ask, what qualifies as a clinical doctorate? Does that mean clinical certification, or? No,
it has to be a clinical doctorate.
Like MD, or?
Yeah, in the
Okay.
Yeah, PsyD and all those.
Okay.
Right. There might be consideration for people that have PhDs and they are doing, they have a certification and they are somehow certified to perform some clinical duties. That is open, but again, you have to justify it. Check with me when you. I remember. I give you an example. When I was an NCAM, there are so many doctorates in Chinese medicine, in naturopathy, chiropractic, osteopathic medicine. So we have to make sure that what you have qualifies you as a legitimate doctorate or similar.
Could you speak a little bit more? You had mentioned that you can tell if somebody has submitted a progress report that's fairly rushed. And I'm guessing that means there were some kind of red flags, that it wasn't quite as complete in thinking as you had hoped. Can you speak to progress reports a little bit and what
sure.
you look for in a good one?
Okay, great. So progress reports, because I'm going through them now. So what you should do on a progress report is first you have to set up the framework. This is what I propose. This is what I did. And this is what I'm going to do moving forward. Sometimes I get progress reports that they don't elaborate on what was achieved. Sometimes I get some that they have problems with the A1, that they were stuck. And instead of, we are facing challenges, and they don't elaborate what kind of challenges, because that might end up that, maybe the project needs to be changed or something. So, providing detailed description of what you did during that year that you got the award. Sometimes people are afraid that once the first time you get it, your first year is about setting up, calibrating, buying equipment. But we need to know that. So we can certify that you make progress. That is progress. If you need to buy equipment or calibrate it or getting some model system in place, we need to learn about that. Sometimes people just don't include, these are the aims, and I completed aim 1, I'm working on aim 2, and then I don't get what you obtained there. Show me your results. Show me how your hypothesis has been, validated through the process. And that's a good progress report will tell you that. And you can tell by the level of details how much time the person, invested on that. If you are submitting a progress report after 2 years, guess what? We expect that you probably submitted at least a manuscript. If you have, like, a 2 years and you don't have a manuscript in process, that seems, when you're going to publish. And that's something that, we're moving more into accountability, so we are expecting you to publish, at least to submit it. Talking about progress reports, now we have the NIH public access. So when you have now for your publications to want your PMCIDs process, we need to check on that. But providing details in terms of the K awards and the fellowships, only your research project. Tell us about your progress in terms of career development. Sometimes people don't even provide that. And just say, well, and because the training in responsible conduct of research is required, the only thing that you see in career development or completed the institutional training of responsible conduct of research. That's it. And we all know we are all busy, but we are accountable to demonstrate that the investment that we're making is worth. So providing good detailed information. There are some really good ones that when people are facing challenges, they are working with the mentors, looking at alternatives, and they develop that, and it's kind of very nice to read. That is kind of a reality check for them too. And they do a really good job. We know that not everything is going to be roses. This is science. It might not work. But we need to know. One more thing. Most of the fellowship requires an evaluation by your mentor. I'm being very pleased that the ones that I have read, that the mentors are doing such a good work, that sometimes the mentors do a better job telling the progress made by the student than the fellow. I was like, oh, this is it? because the person was so brief about that. Maybe the person is kind of jealous of anybody knowing about the science. I don't know. But the mentor is just like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, perfect. It's just, yeah. So that cool. For those that are mentors, thank you. Another one?
I have two questions that have kind of come up in discussions that I've had with different people. Could you talk a little bit about the study section or special emphasis panel that reviews fellowships, as well as the NIDCD RO3s? Is that CDRC? Is it special emphasis panels? And then the second kind of related question is whether investigators who are doing research in the area of swallowing are eligible for the NIDCD RO3?
Okay, Melissa, you want? I have here the chief of the. Do you want to take the review one?
Is it okay? Hi, I'm Melissa Stick, and I'm the chief of the review branch. And Chris's question was, how are different mechanisms reviewed and where? Currently, the Communication Disorders Review Committee is the standing committee within the Institute, and they review RO3s and all of the K mechanisms. We use special emphasis panels to review fellowships. What we do now is we have a chair that has been identified for each of the fellowship panels. They serve for a year to provide continuity, calibration. We also try to bring back the same reviewers, usually in every other meeting, depending on what grants come back in for special emphasis panels. Every effort is made to have continuity in reviewers with an A1. Again, you'll find out sometimes reviewers aren't available. If, for example, your mentor is somebody who has been on a review panel, we may put your application in an opposite meeting. And by that I mean, if you have a fellowship and your mentor is the chair, your fellowship could potentially go to the Communication Disorders Review Committee for review. That panel is also very familiar with reviewing fellowships because they reviewed them for maybe the first 10 years that we were reviewing our own fellowships.
And then
I think there are
question about swallowing.
Alberto, would you like me to take it, or do you want to address it?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh. So NIDCD really has the word communication in its mission. For a long time, we have been funding research in dysphagia, and we will continue to do so. However, if the applicant who wants to do research in dysphagia approaches us before for the RO3, I will look at their plan, their aims. Are they in head and neck cancer? Are they in neurology? Are they in an area that NIH could address? And we'll probably guide them to contact that institute that best matches their aims. And I would advise them to apply for the Trans NIH RO3. However, if that applicant never contacted the PO and the application just showed up, then that's a different conversation. And if there's another home and it's possible to work with review to send it elsewhere to be reviewed, even though it's a different application, I don't know how that would work, we would explore that. Otherwise, we would probably take it. If we fund the RO3, which we do, and we will continue to fund work on dysphagia, but we're really trying to raise the awareness at the NIH for other institutes to take it. It's not that we don't care about dysphagia. It's just that the doubling of the budget has stopped. Our purchasing power is less. And other areas of voice and speech need to be competitive and funded. So I care about swallowing. I monitor mine. So it's just about asking other institutes at NIH to take ownership for their science.
Thank you, Rana.
Does the same apply for the fellowships? I mean, I think we've been more generous in the fellowships. And I don't know how Alberto would feel about continuing that, but with Dan, I know we have been more generous, but we have guided the PIs that as you move forward, please begin to carve a track that matches NCI or matches NIA or matches. So we're more generous on the fellowships, but then we expect them to find their right home. It's all about spending the dollars wisely.
Right, and that's why I keep emphasizing that make sure that your project fits NIDCD strategic plan, research areas, and research priorities. Because as Lana said, even we cared about training people within our areas, but if you want to stay within NIDCD, you have to make sure that your next step will stay with NIDCD. If you're moving into, as she said, cancer or any other areas, aging or something like that, then you might be better served going to those other institutes.
The other thing I wanted to mention was when you submit an application, it's really important to include a cover letter.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
In that cover letter, you can identify which program officers, which institutes you've been in contact with prior to submission. That helps just the Division of Receipt and Referral route your application to the correct institute. At that point, you can also identify areas of expertise that you think are important to evaluate your application. Don't identify people, but areas of expertise. But again, it's really important to indicate you have communicated with NIDCD or neurology or dental.
Thank you, Melissa.